Grease Lightning gets right underneath. 5-alarm, look at this, 5-alarm. Fusion Buster makes a nice hit and actually takes out 2 vehicles with that hit. A walloping hit, and Speed Blaster is tossed almost tail over Tea Kettle, but manages to come back. Jetstreak were defeated by Massive Transit in the finals last season. Will this be their season now that Massive Transit has been eliminated? Hi everybody, welcome to the Junkyard Joust. It's the second main event. Here are the 10 teams that are competing in this match. You've seen some of these names before, and there are a couple new ones as well. Let's take a closer look at our teams. Pink Push has been around since Season 1, and they are back with the Pink Caddy and 4 new cars. Always a threat, it's Lamelt and the Emerald Undercurrent, sponsored of course by Ranaman. Ultra Hawks showed some good survivability in the qualifier, but will it be enough to get them to the finals? Glow to Hell is a low center of gravity, lightweight team. And of course, they glow in the dark. The cars are a team of 80s cars. They're here to shake it up. They might even have just what we needed. The Sunrunners almost always have a team in Junkyard Joust. Will this one get them to the finals? The Silver Slivers are back looking a little less slivery than usual, but they're making up for it by being more silver. They See Me Rolling as a glitzy looking team, and they've got some good variety. The People's Front of Camino. Wait a minute, didn't this team used to be called something else? Well, whatever they're called, they're sponsored by Chicken Rings Onion Wings. And of course, second place from the finals last season, it's Jetstreak with 1 brand new member replacing Bon Voyage. It's Jetstreak's new rookie, Cloud Cutter. Baby Cookie recently found a Klingon in the junkyard, and the crew of the Enterprise have discovered that there are several more Klingons, apparently a whole bunch of them living amongst the Junkers. So far we don't know what era Klingons these are. We don't know if they're going to cause trouble and start a war, or if they're just gonna hang out and watch the joust. Right now it looks like they're content to just hang out and see what's happening. And now it's time to head out to the junkyard and joust. The classic pink Cadillac starting off 73 grams, sponsored by Wolfen Fiber Art. Great way to start off this match with a classic competitor. I wonder if that caddy will get a chance to mess with Lamelt. Up now for the People's Front of Camino, the 78 GMC Caballero, sponsored by Chorgoth the Infinite Horror, Destroyer of Worlds, and Professional Dog Sitter. The Caballero, or I suppose the Caballero, slots into place behind the pink caddy, and the line is forming. Whipped Creamer's up for They See Me Rollin', sponsored by Stump's Tree Farm. And an expensive hit there by Whipped Creamer. Some paint goes flying and lowers the value of all the cars on the field. But none of that matters as long as you're not sideways or upside down, because then you're eliminated. Stock Cars up now, sponsored by Chicken Rings Onion Wings. Stock car lines it up. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but that's what these cars want. They want some stability, they want to be safe on the track, and keep their team in the match. First up for the Emerald Undercurrent, Tire Fryer, sponsored by Ellie's Hop Shop. Tire Fryer pops Stock Car up in the air, and Stock Car tries to land it, but takes a bad bounce off her tires and flips over. That is potentially our first elimination of the round. Sunrunners are up, and it's Off Track, sponsored by Stump's Tree Farm. Off Track gets a boost off Tire Fryer and takes a large leap, lands over on top of Stock Car. Does Stock Car get righted? I actually missed if that happened or not, but Off Ramp eliminated, and Stock Car does make a recovery. Unbelievable, landing right in the same place as Stock Car. Lucky break there. Camino that's not on the Camino team, it's on Ultra Hawks. It's an 80s Chevy, sponsored by the Miskatonic Automotive Club. The Camino slams into Tire Fryer, who was curbside and vulnerable and now upside down. Once again, not showing his potential, which it supposedly has. Whipped Creamer, great recovery. Tire Fryer, try again. Time for the rookie for Jetstreak to take a stab. Cloud Cutter, sponsored by Judy Collins. Cloud Cutter gets underneath the Camino and bobbles it around a little bit, but the Camino manages to stay upright, at least for the moment. We'll see what happens when the pit crew car for the Slivers takes to the track, sponsored by the Miskatonic Automotive Club as well. Heavy hit from the pit crew, but it doesn't do any damage. Cloud Cutter makes a nice escape off to the right over by the tires. The Ultra Hawks Camino escapes. The Caballero now is curbside as well as the pit crew car. Good start for Cloud Cutter. Now up for the cars, Cadillac Seville, sponsored by Stump's Tree Farm. Cadillac Seville locks it in place. Sometimes the back of this car can work as a ramp. We'll see if it does in this situation. Lady Penelope's Rolls Royce for Pink Push, sponsored by Hasty Productions. The low front end of the Rolls Royce keeps it from going off the ramp, but it's such a light car that it has no choice but to roll over. It is a Rolls Royce, but I don't think that that's what they had in mind. By the 62 GMC Caballero, sponsored by Bentley's Brakes and Bumpers. Looks like the Klingon is hitching a ride in the back of this thing, and it goes flying off the back. The ramp works on the Seville, and the Rolls Royce makes an astounding recovery way down by the crates. Takes a big hit and makes a nice recovery. The Caballero also recovers, and the Klingon is prone. Speaking of Klingons, they don't seem to be in the junkyard anymore. Where exactly have they gone? It seems they've all rushed to aid their fallen comrade. I'm not sure these Klingons know exactly how Junkyard Joust works. They're not going to want to be down there on the track right now. Some of these Klingons actually sitting on the track trying to stop the next car from hurting their Klingon friend. Well, the joust must go on. Fast Gassen's going to hit some Klingons, I guess. Sponsored by Chris and Kat's Casa de Chaos. Ooh, the Klingons not able to protect their fallen comrade, and Fast Gassen lays waste to the whole squadron. I think probably because of them, Fast Gassen landed on the Klingon they were trying to protect, although he looks fine now. I see some Klingon legs out there and some other Klingon bits. I don't think these Klingons are faring too well right now, but maybe they can patch them up over in the shuttle. Fast Gassen, meanwhile, is sideways, probably out. Cloak and Dagger for Glow to Hell, sponsored by Sicken. Cloak and Dagger avoiding the ramp on the back of that Seville and pushes the Seville underneath pit crew car. Klingon bits still strewn all over the place. Reverb for the Undercurrent, sponsored by Tim the Bear Neal. Reverb puts a crease in the line. Pit crew car almost gets forced over backwards, but manages to stick it for now. Custom 52 Chevy, sponsored by Chemical Knight. Pong. The Pong truck does some nice damage right there. Knocks that Seville upside down. Elimination for the cars. Cloak and Dagger trying to get away to safety. Not quite out of danger yet, though, I'd say. Here comes the Buick Regal for Ultra Hawk, sponsored by Jason's Bits Boys. The Buick Regal hits a solid line of cars, although the Caballero's starting to get pushed off. And the Buick is curbside. Jet Streak up now, Nitro Scorcher, sponsored by Sid from Cybertron. And the Buick Regal gets scorched. Nitro Scorcher goes nicely underneath, boots it right off the track. Can't get under the Pong Chevy, but that Buick Regal is toast. Nice hit. Here comes another Chevy. This one's classic, the 57 Chevy, sponsored by Ellis Wartenberger. 57 Chevy pushes Nitro Scorcher underneath the Pong truck and partially underneath Reverb. Deckard's ground car from Blade Runner could do some damage here, sponsored by Regal Radio. The ground car does the deed, pushes Pong off the track, gets underneath Nitro Scorcher somehow. 57 Chevy jumps away to freedom. One elimination on that hit, and a lot of cars jumbled up in place right now. Evil Twins up now, Sloth's Automotive Sachet and Buffet the sponsor. Evil Twin slams into Deckard's ground car, and there's 3 cars now that are kind of layered. One nice heavy hit, and we could have a lot of eliminations. Here comes a pretty heavy hit from the 72 Ford Ranchero, sponsored by Sicken. Ford Ranchero goes off the back of Evil Twin, does not do any damage, skids into position and makes a nice landing, and I don't think anybody got eliminated on that hit. Formula Street for They See Me Rollin', sponsored by Judy Collins. Despite having the appearance of an undercutter, Formula Street does not go under Evil Twin, goes off the back of it, drives down the pile, and lands next to one of the unconscious Klingons. Boulevard Bruiser now, sponsored by Sid from Cybertron. Bruiser plunges into the pile and gets some good results. Deckard's ground car flipped over, and pit crew car is falling now to the side. And that might be it for that Blade Runner car. The infamous Lamelt takes to the track, sponsored by Chemical Knight. Lamelt gets underneath Boulevard Bruiser, but Boulevard Bruiser refuses to get turned over. Evil Twin also doing the same thing. 57 Chevy escapes by driving over a Klingon. And yeah, it looks like it's curtains for pit crew. Geronimo, sponsored by Chorgoth the Infinite Horror for the Sunrunners. Geronimo goes off the back of Lamelt, and Lamelt has taken its first casualty. Geronimo hits that ever-deadly fin of Lamelt, goes flying all over the place, and lands upside down. Eliminated. And then a little movement there at the last second as Reverb manages to get itself flat, thanks to Lamelt, his teammate. 70 Camaro RS for the Ultrahawk, sponsored by Mark the Music Lover. The Camaro blitzes the pile and knocks a lot of cars all over the place, but somehow the Camaro comes out of it with a recovery. Evil Twin twists and gets turned over. Boulevard Bruiser got flipped over completely, but landed right side up. Nice recovery. Great hit by that Camaro. Thank you, Camaro. This was a great car for Jet Streak last season. Fusion Buster, sponsored by Emo Dingo. Fusion Buster drives up on Lamelt, pushes Nitro Scorcher, his teammate, a little bit off the track, but no damage there. Silver Bullet looking even more silver than usual, sponsored by Judy Collins. Silver Bullet goes off Lamelt just like everybody's been doing, knocks Fusion Buster up to the crates. Fusion Buster stays level, makes a nice recovery, as does Silver Bullet. Not completely out of the woods yet though. Here comes Jesse Pinkman in the 82 Monte Carlo, sponsored by Jedi. The Monte Carlo makes a nice move, bounces, lands on that Camino, and then drives to a nice open spot up by the front of the crates there by Fusion Buster. Great recovery. That's going to keep the cars in this match. Here comes Cookie in the 57 Thunderbird, sponsored by Jason's Bits Boys.
Hello, my little party.
Somehow the Thunderbird is low enough to not take the ramp of Lamelt. Baby Cookie gets hurled into the back of the Ranchero. She goes to visit the new guy, Cloud Cutter, over by the tires. And Reverb in green looks perilously close to an elimination right now. Next up for the People's Camino Front, the 68 El Camino, sponsored by Chicken Rings Onion Wings. This Camino boots the Thunderbird off the back of Lamelt. The Thunderbird climbs over the Caballero, and it looks a little iffy in that position right now, but we'll see where it ends up by the end of the round. Speedbox, sponsored by the Miskatonic Automotive Club. Speedbox slams the Camino off the back of Lamelt, and then we've got a trend happening here. Each car booting the previous one off the back of it. Camino does a good job of staying alive for now. Jaded for Glow to Hell, sponsored by Indy Capo. Speedbox refuses to go off the back of Lamelt, stopping the trend. Jaded parks behind it and lifting it up in the air, poised for trouble. Here comes the 67 Plymouth Belvedere for the Undercurrent, sponsored by Sid from Cybertron. Nice big hit there, and Jaded forced up on the top of Lamelt. Speedbox forced out and over, but Speedbox makes a great recovery, bouncing off all the cars and landing upright next to his teammate. 92 Ford Mustang, sponsored by Chome for the Runners. The Mustang just knocks itself out, pushes the Plymouth off the track to safety, and turns over. Not a great job right there. It is a Mustang though. What do you expect? 67 Oldsmobile 442, sponsored by Chome. The Oldsmobile gets a nice slam and knocks the Mustang around. Jada gets pushed up to the front of the crates. Can't make a recovery because the crates are in the way, and that is probably going to be an elimination right there for Glow to Hell. Grease Lightning, sponsored by Judy Collins. Grease Lightning takes the place of the Oldsmobile on top of Lamelt. The Oldsmobile spins to a recovery, a little bit of space there, just enough room to stay upright and safe. Lamelt enjoying the havoc it is creating with each run. Turbo Tram for the Sliver, sponsored by Chorgoth the Infinite Horror. Turbo Tram takes a stab at Greased Lightning. Greased Lightning gets popped up in the air but doesn't flip over, and Lamelt gets a break from having cars parked on top of it. Aston Martin Lagonda, sponsored by Pricex Private Parts. Lagonda pushes the Turbo Tram almost completely off the track. Turbo Tram keeps it steady. The Lagonda, however, gets caught in the crevasse and is almost sideways. Time for Blown Delivery, 95 grams, sponsored by Hey Hey's Hatchback Hanger. Massive hit from Blown Delivery, and wow, that Lagonda just gets tossed, and that's a heavy car too. Also tosses Greased Lightning. Both of those cars probably making a recovery. A huge hit. I can't believe there weren't any eliminations. Actually, it looks like Reverb made a recovery off that. And going down now for the Camino Popular People's Front, the hold-in pickup sponsored by Sid from Cybertron. LaMelt is pinned underneath blown delivery, and Holden Pickup doesn't take the jump but can't go anywhere, stuck on that fin. Turbo Tram is tipping. Gas Monkey for They See Me Rollin', sponsored by Regal Radio. Gas Monkey gets a little bit of action, but then turns sideways off the Holden Pickup. Nice looking car, but a terrible hit. And here's another car sponsored by Chorgoth the Infinite Horror, Nitro Door Slammer. The Nitro Door Slammer slams the door on two vehicles. Gas Monkey upside down now, and the Holden Pickup sideways. And now the Slammer is curbside. Ghostbusters themed Phastasm for Emerald Undercurrent, sponsored by Dr. Gonzo. Phastasm pops Nitro Door Slammer up in the air. Nitro Door Slammer bounces off of Gas Monkey. There's nowhere to land, and it just gets stuck sideways, nearly upside down. Torque Twister for the Sunrunner, sponsored by Emo Dingo. Torque Twister pushes into Phastasm. Phastasm gets pushed up on, I think LaMelt is under there somewhere. Yep, okay, it's basically on top of LaMelt. More on Gas Monkey, maybe. 69 Mercury Cyclone, sponsored by Farty Marty. The Cyclone massacres Phastasm. He pushed Torque Twister into it so hard that Phastasm gets knocked all the way up to the crates. There's nowhere to land, and Phastasm is done. That's going to be a loss for Undercurrent. And now Torque Twister is perched, ready to take the jump. Here's a car that's been around for a while, Jet Threat 3, sponsored by Brendan Walsh. Jet Threat pushes into the back of the Cyclone, and Torque Twister is saved from taking that jump as Jet Threat starts to slide under. Here comes a different Cyclone, just Cyclone 3, sponsored by Brendan Walsh. This Cyclone pushes Jet Threat underneath the other Cyclone. No damage there, but we've got some buildup going on. There's really nowhere to go. The pile is so big. Ferrari 308 for the cars, sponsored by Chemical Knight. Ferrari slides off the edge of Cyclone and manages to make a recovery even though there's nowhere to land. It just lands on top of that Camino, right side up. 17 eliminations in the round all told. No teams completely eliminated from the match yet, although I think the Klingons aren't doing so well. Close call for the Lagonda, but it is not beyond 45 degrees. Same looks to be true for the Turbo Tram. Just under 45, so they're going to stay in. Pink Push only lost 1 in the round. All 4 other teams on this page each lost 2, including Emerald Undercurrent. Big story of the round, the Sunrunners, some bad luck, losing 4 in the round, only Torque Twister remaining. Other big news, Jetstreak did not lose a single car. They are doing great. Ultrahawks also doing well with 4 remaining, and the Silver Slivers only lost 1. Cars lost 2. Jordy and Troy got their hands full with a lot of injured Klingons, but I think they'll be able to fix them all up. Meanwhile, Picard tries to explain to the remaining Klingons how Junkyard Joust works and why they shouldn't go out on the track and do that again. Let's get right into round 2, starting out with Nitro Scorcher for Jetstreak. Jetstreak showing why they did so well in the finals last season. Let's hope they don't have the leader's curse like the Thunderlords did in the last main event. Pink Cadillac heading down first for Pink Push. Ooh, a savage hit there by the caddy, and Nitro Scorcher is knocked for a loop upside down. Was it just a fluke, or is it the beginning of the leader's curse? Turbo Tram. Turbo Tram does some light jostling, manages to stay locked in. Something chipped off of one of those cars. I'm not sure which one. I'm thinking probably Turbo Tram. Man, look at the back of the Cadillac. That thing has seen some action. Chevy El Camino now for the Hawks. The El Camino slams into Turbo Tram, pushes it straight off the edge. Turbo Tram flips over and is done. Struck down by the Camino. That Camino not affiliated with this group. It's the Caballero. Caballero locks it in, cannot break the line, and they're starting to back up. This is the perfect time to set up LaMelt. Emerald Undercurrent hoping to do the maximum amount of damage with LaMelt in this situation. As LaMelt pulls into position, yep, this is pretty perfect. The Lagonda's gonna try out LaMelt first. Lagonda goes right off of Lamelt. Wow, it couldn't have been more perfect, and it cannot make a recovery. Goes sideways. Looks like maybe it's gonna make a recovery, and then it just flops over upside down. Unfortunate. I don't know who's gonna drive me home tonight, but it's not gonna be the Lagonda. Gloke and Dagger. Ooh, Glow to Hell made a good choice sending that car down. It doesn't go under Lamelt, forces Lamelt under the Caballero. That could be bad news right there. But Gloke and Dagger also curbside here. Speedbox. Speedbox tries to knock Gloke and Dagger upside down. Gloke and Dagger not having it. In fact, Speedbox flips over sideways on the track, so still a chance of recovery. Last hope for the Sunrunners. Torque Twister. Torque Twister saves Speedbox from doom, knocks Speedbox off the track to safety, and now Torque Twister's lined up at the back of Lamelt. Fusion Buster. Fusion Buster knocks Torque Twister off the track. Torque Twister making a nice spinning twist and a recovery. Caballero not so much, just gets flopped over. Done, can't quite make it. Balances on those tires and wobbles, but fails. Lady Penelope's Rolls Royce. The Rolls Royce doesn't roll this time, but it does go curbside. Looks to me like this line of cars is ready for some devastation. Can the 57 Chevy take advantage? The 57 Chevy does get a nice elimination. Can't do much to Fusion Buster. Fusion Buster's still safe at this point, and that Camino balanced. This car's been providing some good hits. Here comes the Oldsmobile. Watch out below. Oh no, the Oldsmobile drives the Chevy into the Camino. Its teammate. Tragedy strikes the Ultrahawks as they self-eliminate. Oof, that is bad news for their team. It's the Ford Ranchero. Ranchero boinks the Oldsmobile over Lamelt and off to safety, and then takes its place on that back fin. Let's see if Ranchero can survive a hit from Reverb. Reverb hits the Ranchero, and nope, cannot survive it. Goes up on Lamelt, balances, and topples sideways. That's probably going to be an elimination for the People's Camino front, or whatever it's called. 82 Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo goes all the way up on top of Lamelt, drives Reverb up to the front into the safety spot. Relatively safe up there behind the safety bar. And that 57 Chevy settles in for the Silver Slivers. Boulevard Bruiser. Boulevard Bruiser does pretty much what we expect in this situation. Every time a car comes down, they boot the last one off the track and take their place on that fin of Lamelt, where they're gonna get booted. Formula Street. Formula Street knocks Boulevard Bruiser. Boulevard Bruiser handles it very nicely, bounces around a lot, and sits on Reverb, and then manages to make a nice recovery. Monte Carlo also recovering. Formula Street taking the position. Greased Lightning. Greased Lightning takes down Formula Street. Formula Street going sideways off Lamelt, and then gets almost all the way over Lamelt. Teeters awkwardly in that position. We'll see if this turns into a recovery. They see me rolling, might be losing another car here. Here comes Cookie in the 57 Thunderbird.
I come by for the social interaction, beard face.
Thunderbird plows into Greased Lightning and flips over, hurling Cookie on the hood of the Monte Carlo. And that Thunderbird is upside down, suspended above the track on the rails. And there is Cookie hiding out. She loves it. Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet drives right over Lamelt and somehow manages to push the Thunderbird back upright again. They may have just made a recovery for Pink Push. It's not the goal of Junkyard Joust, but sometimes it happens. 69 Mercury Cyclone. The Cyclone annihilates Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet paying the price for not getting off the track and gets flipped upside down up front. Probably no chance of recovery up there. Nice takedown there by the Ultrahawks. Here comes another El Camino. Just a nice little tap right there, and the Cyclone gets pushed up a little bit on Lamelt, but maybe Lamelt is going to get covered up here finally, and the tradition of driving up on Lamelt and then getting annihilated will stop happening. 67 Plymouth Belvedere. Belvedere slams into the pile and pushes that Cyclone over via the Camino. Thunderbird gets pushed off, but is still right side up, so that thing looks like it might survive the round. Not so good for the Cyclone, though. Ferrari 308 for the cars. The 308 hits the pile and the Plymouth manages to stay upright barely. 308 backs off a little bit. I don't think that Plymouth is out of the woods yet, though. Stock car. Stock car hurls the Ferrari all the way over to the fence. Ferrari making an adjustment in midair and then landing it. Nice job there. Looks like the Plymouth is now pretty much off the track, and stock car is poised in the back of LaMelt. What a recovery by the 308. Whipped Creamer. Ooh, a savage hit from Whipped Creamer, and look at this. 3 cars go flying all over the place. Stock car gets tossed around, flips over upside down. The Camino is out, and that Thunderbird, I would say, is beyond 45 degrees right now. That's what we like to call
triple takedown.
Cloud Cutter is gonna follow that up. Cloud Cutter creams Whipped Creamer. Whipped Creamer getting knocked over by the crates. Tries to make a recovery, but skids and can't do it. Landing upside down. That's going to be another elimination for They See Me Rolling. They are in trouble right now. Heavy hit coming from Blown Delivery. It's going to hit LaMelt. And hit LaMelt it does, but doesn't manage to get anywhere. Doesn't go off the fin. Has a low enough front to stop that from happening. Look at the line just get bent. Blown Delivery delivered the force, but blew it at the same time, going sideways. Cyclone 3. Cyclone 3 knocks Blown Delivery over more sideways. It's definitely not going to be recovering from that position, but LaMelt now is blocked by the carcass of Blown Delivery. 70 Camaro. 70 Camaro hits the Cyclone, had such a good recovery last round, but not so much this round. Just flips off and knocks itself off the track, pushes Blown Delivery up more. Cyclone is coming off the track. Here comes Jet Threat 3. Jet Threat hurls itself into the pile, and look at that. The Plymouth Belvedere just at the last second turns over because of that hit. I thought that car was safe, but it was not. Cyclone balances and then can't quite hold on, flips over upside down. 2 cars eliminated on that hit, final car of the round. And if you thought 17 eliminations in round 1 wasn't enough, well, how about 18 in round 2? I don't remember that ever happening before. We had more eliminations in round 2 than in round 1. Cloud Cutter, not one of those eliminations, it looks like. Let's take a look at the aftermath. Wow, what a massacre. Our first team eliminated. The People's Front of Camino is gone. Pink pushed down to 1 from 4. They See Me Rolling lost 2 and are just down to 1. Glow to Hell and Emerald Undercurrent each lost 1, still at 2. And the Sunrunners managed to stay alive. Jetstreak only lost 1 despite all of the eliminations in that round. Ultrahawks and the Silver Slivers nearly got wiped out in that round, each losing 3 cars down to 1. And the cars just lost 1, they're down to 2. Pretty incredible round, a lot of devastation. Let's take another look at that. Look at all the cars eliminated in that round. Wow. This has been quite the main event so far. I hope you'll tune in for the remainder of this match next time. I hope you had a good holiday weekend if you're in the States, and even if you're not in the States, I hope you had a good weekend in general. Here's a quick look at a tower that I just assembled for the Apocalypse Joust. It's edging ever closer. Keep your eyes open for an announcement. Thanks everybody who makes this show possible. If you'd like to become a patron, don't forget to check out patreon.com/junkyardjoust. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See you next time.